Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is episode 2 of the Unimog project. On this episode, we're gonna see if we can even get this thing running. You know, did I get a good deal on this, or is the engine completely blown out and this thing's not gonna run? Stay tuned to find out. Okay, first things first here is we are going to try and get some juice into the system just to see what in fact is working and what is not working, and try to make heads or tails of this wiring mess that we have. And let's see what happens when we hook this up. Okay, I hear a fan turn on. Let's see what that's all about. Okay, so hooking up the battery, it sounds like the cooling fan has turned on. You can see that right there. Maybe there's a switch for that. Oh, we also have power light on this inverter right here. Let's go around and look at the instrument cluster and see. And we have some lights. We've got a fuel level 100, oil is 3, temp 39, and 13 volts. We also have a speedometer, and then this looks like an ignition switch right here. That's it. Okay, we have an ignition switch. I don't know why the fan keeps turning on though. Maybe that's... okay. This is gonna be our fan switch right here. So there's just a manual switch to turn the fan on. Right here we have another switch. Doesn't really seem to be doing anything. Oh wait, I think I saw something. Yep, okay. I wonder if turning it the other way turns the other light on. This one's off now, and yep, this one's on. Okay, so I'm guessing these are supposed to be our turn signals. We're definitely going to have to wire in a much better, maybe like a steering column mounted. I think you can get them for golf carts and side-by-sides that kind of clamp on right there. So that's not going to be too big of a deal. Oh, this looks like headlights. Okay. We got some lights. I was hoping that these would be LED. They look like they're upgraded. These definitely aren't factory headlights, but it doesn't look like they're LEDs, so we may have to be changing that out in the future as well. Okay, so we got lights, we got turn signals, kind of. We got some things powered up inside of here. I can only assume that this is for the electric power steering, and maybe confirm it because it says electric power steering on it. But there's definitely no power steering on this. So we're gonna have to figure that part out as well. Okay, so we've got some good progress. Let's see what else we can find. As you guys can see, we got the project manager on duty today, making sure that Daddy doesn't set the house on fire with his nice new project. Looking the car over, I did notice something pretty interesting. So in the wheel well here, this is the original 24 volt starter. Most of the vehicle has been converted to 12 volt since this is a 12 volt alternator right here. But it looks like they've kept the 24 volt starting circuit, and that leads down to the battery box. So that explains why there were 2 batteries in series down there and then 1 up here. So he's sort of running a hybrid system. Apparently it's pretty common for people to do that, but it adds a different layer of complexity to the whole build. Now I've got to make room for this 12 volt up here. And what if the battery, the 24 volts die? Then I have to get a 24 volt jumper to start the car. So it's kind of a weird mix of the two. Also, there's no charging circuit for the 24 volt system, so they just don't get charged ever. Unless you are home, I guess you can charge them if you have a 24 volt charger. So we'll probably be changing out this to a 12 volt starter and just simplify the whole circuit. Okay. We're gonna do these spark plugs. Oh, okay. It's pretty easy doing spark plugs on this. Should try doing them on a GTS Cayman or GT4 Cayman. Those are fun. If you know, you know. We got all 6 spark plugs out. They don't look too bad. I'm not sure if the last shot got it, but here is what one of them right here. pretty fouled out, but I think they should still work pretty good. I might hit them with the wire brush before we actually try and fire this thing up. Next thing, I wanted to squirt some oil down on the cylinder just to make sure that if there's any corrosion in there, anything helps, you know, break it loose. Didn't really have my oil squirter, so we're just gonna stick with some WD-40. Gonna chuck a little bit inside each of these holes. There. Number one right there. Yep, okay. I think the next step is going to be to try and fire this thing up. This engine bay is a bit of a rat's nest of wiring. These universal wire harness kits come with, you know, wires for pretty much everything. So if we look down at the starter and follow that wire all the way up, it's got a purple wire, which is going to be for our solenoid to engage the starting system. This goes to a purple wire right here, but when I activate the switch, nothing happens, even if I jump this right here. So I think either these wires are no good or something's wrong with this wiring right here. But if you keep following it, it goes to this little relay we have sitting right over here. And if we look at the terminal 30, it's going to the purple wire. And the 87 is going down here into the 24 volt system. So that makes a bit more sense now because it has to be a 24 volt starting circuit. So he's using this inverter to turn on the starter basically. I'm not sure what else this is running, but I think that's what it seems like is running over there. So instead of using this, we're just going to bypass all of that and hook this up right here. Hopefully the camera is getting all that. Here's our little wire right here that goes down to the starter solenoid. So I've made a jumper wire in the meantime just to try and test this thing out. And we're going to plug that in right here. And if I've thought this through correctly, if I hook this up to the 24 volt output on this inverter, it should work. So we should, it's either going to start or it's either going to click or something's going to happen when we touch this. So let's listen. Okay. That to me is our starter circuit engaging right there. I don't think the 24 volt battery bank is hooked up yet, so that's why it's not turning the engine. So let's go ahead and do that. Yeah, I'm not sure how this is going to go right now, but let's see what happens here, guys. You guys are going along on this ride with me, so here it goes. All right, we figured something out, guys. We're getting somewhere with this. Oh, and in case you guys couldn't see the angle right here, this is the 12 volt input to this step-up inverter. This is the common ground, and this is the 24 volt output. So what I'm doing is I'm jumping this straight to this starter solenoid right here, and that's what's giving it 24 volts. Here we are on the spark plug. Kind of rigged it up a little bit with a piece of wire that goes in. I don't really want to get shocked today, so let's have a look here. There it is. We have spark. So, sounds like we have compression. I haven't done a compression test on it. I'm not going to waste my time doing that. We got spark. I don't know if the timing is correct or the firing order is correct. The only thing we're missing here is some fuel, and this thing should run, I guess. Not really sure. So maybe we'll try some brake cleaner first, because I have plenty of that on hand. And let's see what happens. Before we try and get this thing started, it is important that we have a fire extinguisher nearby. Got that right here. I'm not trying to burn my house down. I'm also not trying to burn my project down. With that said, let's see what happens here. Oh. Whoa, that almost started, guys. I think we're getting somewhere with this. And that was running for about 1 second. Go a little bit more here. Okay, so what that tells me is obviously we don't have any fuel in the system. It seems to me like the ignition is set up correctly. We obviously have spark. It seems like we have compression. So the next step is to get some fuel in this thing. So something pretty cool about these old Unimogs and any old tractor for example, this is the, right there, that's the mechanical fuel pump. So that runs off of a lobe on the engine. So there's no electronics needed to get this fuel pump to work. The cool thing about these is they actually came with this little priming lever. So if you pump this, it'll prime the fuel system. And my understanding is you keep doing this over and over and over until you can see fuel coming out of the carburetor up here and into this drain bowl at the bottom, like it's overflowing. So we're gonna sit and do that for a while, and hopefully we'll get some fuel up into the system. My hand's tired, this isn't really working. I'm gonna try and trace this fuel line back to the tank and see if I can either siphon it to get it going or maybe hook up a small 12-volt fuel pump just to prime it slightly, because I don't know if this fuel pump's even any good. The diaphragm might be blown in it, and I could just sit there, pump away all day and nothing could happen. Guys, not having a whole bunch of luck here. I've tried priming this a few times. It doesn't really want to pump all the way up. I don't know if that's because the pump is bad or if there needs to be fuel in the system for it to prime. That doesn't really make sense, but who knows with these old cars. I'm gonna try and loosen up the fuel line that goes into the carburetor. See if anything is coming out of that. Maybe the jets are so far clogged that it's not gonna allow it to fill up. All right guys, I've been at this for a couple hours now and still no luck. It doesn't want to seem to get fuel up into the system right here. I don't know if it's a tank issue or the changeover valve issue. I think what I'm gonna do now is get a separate little fuel canister and make my own fuel tank and have that drip down into the bottom of the fuel pump and see if we can get it started. If we get it started, then we know that the issue is after that, behind that, that fuel pump, and maybe it's the pickup inside the tank. Might have to drop the tank down, not really sure yet. So let's see how this goes. I got the little fuel holder right here. I made this little adapter to go on the end of the mechanical fuel pump and tie into this fuel tank. Let's call this a fuel tank. I don't know what the hell to call this thing. There's a mechanical fuel pump down there, right by that light. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this hooked up and we're gonna pump it and see if we can get fuel to come up out of this fuel line that goes into the carburetor. Oh. Definitely seems like yeah, we got a leak here, guys. Yeah, that's not gonna work. Let's turn this off. Working on cars is fun. I think we found a bit of a problem here. This is the side piece of that fuel pump, and as soon as I gave it any kind of fuel, it just dumped all out. I took that cover off and it looks like it was double gasketed and one of them was torn. I don't know why there would be two gaskets there. Typically a double gasket is no good. I think somebody messed with that. When I try to run it with just one gasket, the bolt that holds it in place right here is too long and it bottoms out before it actually tightens up. So I think we're gonna cut our losses here and get the actual rebuild kit for this mechanical fuel pump down here, just so we can start fresh with that. I really wanted to get this thing fired up today, so I'm gonna try a last attempt at hooking up the fuel directly to this carburetor right here. All right, we got the fuel tank up there from the window, coming down straight into the carburetor. Let's open this valve right here. Let's try it. Let's see what happens here, guys. Turn the ignition on. And starter. Whoa, it just started. Okay, let's try this again, guys, because I think we're gonna get it right now, and that's gonna be it. it's misfiring. But that is a running Unimog, ladies and gentlemen. Guys, I just can't help myself. Maybe I'm going a little too far, but I need to see if this thing will move under its own power. So let's start this thing up. Let's reach through here, ignition on, fire it up right here. That should be first gear, and that should be reverse. Let the clutch out slowly. Oh, and we're moving. Since we're on first gear in reverse, it is extremely slow. The crawl ratio on this is about 100 to 1. But that's it, guys. She's running. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. You know the drill. If you want to see more of this, hit that subscribe button and we'll keep you updated on how this thing goes. I think next step is going to be to rebuild that fuel pump right there. That way we can actually use the correct fuel system instead of this fire hazard right here. It kind of fitting because it's a fire truck, right? But I don't want anything catching on fire, so thanks for tuning in.